Mayor, we know one victim from the Austin shooting died overnight. How is your community reacting? People were just out socializing on a regular weekend.
You know, the loss suffered by the Cantor family is just absolutely unimaginable. And that Doug Cantor was killed visiting our city has filled us with just enormous grief. People are tired. The resolve, it continues to grow to do something to stop this. You know, the numbers that you just heard, almost 300 mass shootings this year alone, 4 in those 6 hours, over 10 this weekend in cities across the country, mass shootings. The numbers just continue to grow, and it's happening everywhere. It's happening in cities everywhere.
There may be resolve, Mayor, but we have seen mass shootings across the country, but really across the state of Texas. And now there are barely any gun control laws in your city, in your state. Are your police now changing the way they respond? Do they need to?
You know, what our state legislature, what our state just did with respect to allowing anyone to carry a firearm without registration is just absolutely outrageous. I mean, one thing's clear: greater access to firearms doesn't equal greater safety. You know, we had not only full strength but augmented strength down on 6th Street on Friday. In fact, it was the abundance of officers there being able to do quick first aid that probably resulted in matters not even being worse. It wasn't the force issue. There are too many guns. Doug Cantor died and was killed this weekend in Austin because 2 people had guns they shouldn't have had.
Cedric, police certainly don't want this. More guns on the streets make it harder for the police to do their job, and Washington isn't helping. What should police departments do to adapt? We know that gun sales has soared in the last year.
Well, the reality is in all of this, Stephanie, is this. We have a number of states that certainly have very relaxed gun laws, and we know accessibility is there, accessibility to thefts of these weapons, particularly from stolen vehicles, from people's homes, and et cetera. But it's also, they can be easily accessible just about anywhere. When a young kid can tell you, I can get a gun quicker than I can get an iPad, we have a problem in this country. The problem and the challenge is going to be for law enforcement today is this. We know we got a number of social issues that may contribute to violence in this country. We know that we're going to have to come up with a whole new methodology in terms of how we're going to confront this violence, and what used to work is not going to work in the future. Now, when we think about crime in this country, there has been a reduction overall pre-COVID, even though the numbers were spiking up again. But we're going to see that it's going to ebb, it's going to flow. We oftentimes don't know the reason for it. We may theorize around it, but there's so many variables involved. The spikes do not concern me. Even though they're deadly, they're dangerous, and people are losing their lives. We got to try to get in front of this. We got to come up with new creative ideas, because what used to work a few years ago is not going to work today. But here's what's really important in all of this, Stephanie. These spikes that we're seeing in violence now, post-COVID, as we're coming out of COVID, we cannot blame this on COVID, even though COVID may have exacerbated and revealed some of the issues we have in our nation around disparities. But the point of it is this. We're going to have to come up with new ways in terms of fighting this, police and community together. But what we don't want to happen here is these spikes turn into a trend of elevated violence, and that becomes the new norm. So we got to get in front of this as much as we can. I wish we had more time so I could share with you what some of those things I think are. But we got to do something quickly in this country, because as you heard the mayor say, he and other mayors across this country are struggling with this real problem that is not appearing to abate itself, and is continually get worse in the.
We will have time, Cedric, because we're going to keep covering this. But just for the moment, are you worried about what this is doing to to our police forces out there. Are you concerned that they're not responding as well as they should be because of all of the scrutiny they've been getting? Because now maybe there's more risk to their own lives. They know there's more guns on the streets. What is this doing to our police?
Well, let me talk about this. Let me put my clinical psychologist hat on here for a second. And let me say this. Yes, they're under a great deal of stress. They're chasing after bad guys. We have one murder, one shooting after another before a homicide unit, before a team of investigators or uniform officers can go from one place to another. It's just continuing to come. It is like a faucet you cannot turn off. So, yes, it's having grave impact upon them emotionally and psychologically, but they're in the fight to stay. That's who these men and women are. And regardless of the scrutiny that they certainly are up under, they know, too, at the end of the day, they're going to continue to carry out this message because we have thousands of good police officers out there, as we all well know, who are doing a dynamic job and will continue to do so. But yes, they're under scrutiny, but it's not going to stop them from doing what they need to do, the very best that they can, even with the shortages that they're experiencing and the overwhelming amount of violence that they have to confront every day.
And we're grateful for those men and women. Mayor, what are you hearing from your officers? What are they telling you?
Well, I think that the officers are stressed. This has been just an incredible year on so many different levels. And I know that we're dealing with, as many cities are across the country, with increased retirements and attrition. But when these guns started going off on Friday night, the videos real clearly show that our officers ran to them. And we're just incredibly appreciative of our police force and these folks that are so dedicated to our public safety. But this is a stressful time in this profession across the country.